Alright, it's time for more social studies videos. Look at that sound. Mr. Bowden, what are you doing?
See you guys there. Sorry. What am I listening to? I was just hanging out in my room. It's no biggie.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Should we be concerned at all about?
No, I was just gonna teach you guys a lesson on fascism.
Oh, I see. You're just getting in the mindset. Oh, a fascist. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So today I thought in today's lesson I would give you guys a little bit of an introduction to fascism. So what is fascism? So I've drawn a really beautiful swastika up on this. I shouldn't say beautiful. I don't think you can say swastika and beautiful, but I have drawn a Nazi swastika on the board, and I have divided fascism into 4 sectors. So I'm going to explain fascism under 4 principles. Now, I think the first thing to understand is a few things on the board. So one is that the swastika, as the Nazis used it, was actually an ancient symbol that the Nazis took. It actually came from ancient Hinduism and Buddhism, and it was actually used also in the Roman Empire, but it was a symbol for power, and so that became kind of an important symbol for the Nazis. And it's kind of crazy to this day. If you were to go to China, for example, and go to a Buddhist temple, you would see swastikas everywhere. It's not because Buddhists are Nazis, it's because that symbol existed prior to the Nazis. The second thing that I have up on the board is I have the word reactionary. So if you guys remember reactionary, if you guys think of what that means, a reaction is a response to something. So if you were to throw a ball at me and I wasn't paying attention, I'd be like, oh, right? I'd react. So what the reaction of fascism is it's a reaction to modernity, meaning it's a reaction to new ideas or new and modern thinking. So the idea of fascism is they want to move back to a historical time that they view as more valuable or of a time that was ideal. All right, so fascism was not actually founded in Germany, although Germany made it popular. Fascism was actually founded in Italy under Benito Mussolini. It then spread to Spain under Francisco Franco. Hitler adopted it, but it also went all the way over to Japan, where the dictatorial leadership of Hokkaido Tojo, the general that was leading the army there, adopted these kind of fascist principles. So it is reactionary, and it's a reaction to modernity again. Okay, so I'm going to go through 4 kind of points of fascism that you guys will need to remember. This is the kind of the way I think about it. When I think about fascism, I think about the swastika, and then I think about these 4 points. Okay, so I'm going to go through each of these. So the first point is the point of nationalism. So I drew right here, I don't know if this is a very good picture, but basically what this is it's a bundle of sticks that are all wrapped together by rope, and on the outsides it has a couple of axes. And what essentially that indicates, or what that is, this symbol is called the symbol of the fasces, and it came from ancient Rome. And the Romans used this symbol to represent the power or prestige of their nation. And what it essentially means is, if you think about a stick, if you take one stick and you break it, that's very easy to break. But if you take a bundle of sticks and you try to break it, you can't break it. And so this essentially means that the people, when they're unified, they can't be broken. And then what protects the people and what the axes represent is the military, the strength of the military. So the military combined with the strength of the people creates a powerful nation. So again, fascism strongly believes in the idea of nationalism, that the people need to be unified. So unity, they should have unity in their ideology, meaning nobody should believe different things. Everybody should kind of believe the same general principles. There should have unity in their purpose, so they all should be united in their goals. And they should have unity in their biology, meaning they should be racially unified. Okay, and this idea of nationalism came, or the strength of unity came from being frustrated about the way that history was working out for them. Historically speaking, people like the Nazis feel like they got the short end of the stick at the end of World War I. And so kind of like it was a sense of their pride, the fact that they were once great and that they were losing the great battles of Europe made them feel this sense that they need to unify and gain strength together. Okay, so that's the first. So nationalism is the first. The second is racial superiority. So this one's pretty easy to understand, but basically this means that it embraces the idea that there should be a hierarchy. So fascism strongly believes that there should be a social hierarchy where some people should be at the top and others should be at the bottom. And those that are at the top of this social hierarchy should be those that are racially superior, racially and biologically superior. Okay, so they're okay with some sort of hierarchy as long as that hierarchy is built on racial lines. They believe that the strength of a nation is based upon the purity of the race. So mixed breeding, as they would call it, or interracial childbearing is something that was very unsatisfactory, something that was unaccepted. And then the last thing is that this is the justification for their modern imperialism. So because fascist countries believe that they're racially superior, they feel it's justified to conquer and enslave other nations. Okay, so the third thing is a return to authority. So what this essentially means is that fascism strongly believes that the country or the state should be led autocratically, meaning without popular opinion. So essentially, they need a strong dictatorial leadership and return back to the monarchies of old. That's where the strength of a nation comes from. So the ideas of this strength comes from authority actually comes from two theorists, Friedrich Nietzsche and Thomas Carlyle, who came up with a theory called the great man theory. And essentially what this means is that when we look at all of history, from the very beginning of time to today, nothing great has ever come from regular individuals. History, as we understand it, has been changed and modified because of certain great individuals. So if you think about it this way, if we believe in things like evolution, that some animals evolved out of other animals, that we, for example, came from apes, we would think, well, apes are here and humans are here, and there must be something in between. And under fascism, it would believe, well, there's apes, there's kind of lesser races, and then there's a superior race. But Friedrich Nietzsche and Carlyle argued that if we believe in evolution, then wouldn't there also be some people that are socially even more evolved? Right? And if that's the case, these kind of superhumans, or as Nietzsche called it, the Übermensch, meaning Superman, these are the people that should lead us. And that leadership would never be chosen by the voting of a bunch of kind of inferior people. Right? So democracy doesn't work. Leadership should come naturally, right? When we find people that are able to lead, we should give them our will so that they can lead us properly. So the strength of a nation is built on good leadership, right? And so I have here, it says empires are built by kings, not through the weaknesses of democracy. So if a country's ever going to be powerful, it's not going to come from the strength of democracy. It's going to come from the strength of an all-powerful autocrat or leader. All right. So the last one here is that fascism is a rejection of communism and liberalism. So again, I told you that fascism is reactionary, meaning it reacts to something. Well, what it's reacting to is two new ideologies. The first is communism, the second is liberalism. So let's talk about both of those. So communism, according to fascists, they believe that communism is the plague of nationalism. Now, if you know anything about communism, you would know that communism desires to make all people equal, right? And that's not just people in Russia or in China. That's the whole world. Communism believes that all people around the world should become united as a people, and all people should be seen as equal. Men, women, black, white, whatever it is, right? And according to fascism, that's actually where weakness comes from. We don't want to all be unified as one world. We want to be unified as independent nations on a social hierarchy. So they reject communism. The other reason that fascists hate communism, and Nazis made this popular, was they believed that communism was actually a Jewish scheme. People like Vladimir Lenin, who founded communism in Russia, were of the Jewish faith. And so the belief here was that it was the Jews that were trying to say that all people should be equal so that they could step into positions of leadership and control the means of production. So according to fascists, they believe the Jews are trying to take over the world financially. Okay, and then the last thing here is that fascism rejects liberalism. So the belief about liberalism is that they believe that liberalism is actually weak and it creates disunity amongst the people because it gives the ability of people to voice their independent concerns. If every individual can act in their own interest, that creates disunity. It allows alternative ideas or opposition to exist, and it actually encourages it. The other thing that that fascists hate about liberalism is they hate the fact that liberalism embraces things like multiculturalism, that all people, regardless of your race, would be considered equal because all individuals are equal. Okay, and then the last thing that they hate is that liberalism empowers the individual at the expense of the nation, right? Meaning that the individual can speak out, and that creates weakness. And then the last thing is that they believe that liberalism is the ideology of the enemy. So if you think about the fascists in Germany and the fascists in Italy, well, who were they fighting in World War I? Well, they were combined to fight against Great Britain, France, and the United States, right? And those countries, France, Great Britain, and the United States, are the countries that embrace liberalism. So the belief here is that liberalism is the ideology of the enemy. So you guys should all know those now 4 points. So fascism is built upon strong nationalism, a return to the authorities of the past, a rejection of communism and liberalism, and the embracing of racial superiority. Hopefully that made sense. Thanks.